Yo, my name's James Franklin. I've just released a new album called Kid. If you've listened to it, I hope it was beautiful. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it served you well. If you haven't listened to it, you get two options before watching this video. You can pause it, go listen to it in full on your favourite streaming service, or you can listen along as we go through each song. Listen to the first story, go listen to the first song, and so on through all tracks. I don't care what you do. I'm going to keep talking. So this is the album.
I'm not the same no more.
The Coming of Kid is simply an intro track. I fell in love with intro tracks and interlude songs in the middle of records from listening to people like Michael Jackson and Prince. I think Paolo Nutini had some great interludes on his last record. I think Newton Faulkner's done some cool ones over his albums. Yeah, I think intro tracks are just a great way to say like it's starting. Like the lights going down at the movie theater. Like it's time to grab some popcorn, sit down, and shush up because the kid is coming.
'Cause I am made of love. Sometimes I break it up. You'll still get holding everything we were.
I Am Not Made of Love is a song that was fun to write. I remember one day in the car, I was kind of flicking through the radio stations, and song after song, it was these ladies talking about, leaving their men behind, leaving those slack-ass men behind. And, it was empowering, and those songs are great and sassy and cool. And I went over and checked out what some male artists had to say on the same topic. There was a lot of talk about, I'm gonna this bitch off and go all these bitches. And that's cool too, but the lads are lying. So I wanted to create a bit more of an honest story about keep it sassy and just like, yeah, we're leaving that behind and moving on for the better. It's all gonna be great. So that's Not Made of Love.
He built the roof, he built the home. He watched the rain fall down the hole, then he patched it up. One hammer, one nail, then patched it up.
Why Let Our People Cry is one of the more mature songs on the record. I wrote it as I kind of took a step back and observed this new social media age that we're all living in, and we all have this option. We all have these comment boxes, and we have the keyboard to type, and many people make use of that. Sometimes for good, sometimes not for good. And I think moving forward, something that's almost like a superpower is the ability to admit you don't know, and that you're willing to listen and learn, and taking other people's experiences. I've got fucking Sally up the road telling me how to separate my toes from each other. And Sally does not know where those toes have been. She doesn't, trust me. Or Sally's telling Joan down the road how to raise her kids, when I've seen Sally's kids, doing coke out the back in their back garden. So she can keep on sipping her mojitos at 10 a.m. on a Monday morning as I'm walking past, and she can keep typing on Facebook, but she should know she looks dumb. Those people. And that's what that song's about. Just calling people dumb in a longer form, in a melodic way, and it's so satisfying.
If I really need to hold you, could I have your hand?
Stay With You is about a relationship that I think most people experience in their lifetime. You fall in love with someone, and it's so great, so good, and you have so many fun times. And then as you're thinking back over your relationship after a few years, you see that somewhere in the middle it started to slow down a bit, those fun times, and then it started to slow down even more. And then you realize one day that you're just there because it's comfortable and it's easy. And in your mind, you come to this crossroads where you can take a left or a right, stay or go. And the go way looks so scary. There's rocks, there's mountains, there's mud to get stuck in, there's thunder, lightning. But just past that, there's a beautiful view, a breathtaking view. And stay with you, I think, is a reminder to, in those circumstances, take the hard way, because in the end, after it's all done, it'll be much more rewarding for you and also for the person that you're in that relationship with. Because even though it's so hard to say goodbye, it's worth it in the end.
You're my sweet pie, you're my sun. Oh, you are my only one.
You're My Ticket is the only real love song on the record. And if it was about a lady that I was in love with, I mean, the whole album would be about her, because once I fall in love, it's like turning on a tap. The songs just fall out. But as usual, story of my life, the love song is not about me. My friend was falling in love, and he would tell me about this girl and how it's never going to work out. He's not enough of this. She doesn't like guys that do this. So I had to step up, I had to put on my wings, my diaper, fly over there, shoot my musical Cupid's arrow at her. She felt the song, and then they fell in love. And what did I get? I mean, they're still together. That's great. That's good. I'm happy for them. But where's my love? Where's my turn? Why didn't I get another Cupid's arrow to shoot at another girl for me? Unfortunately, I stay alone. Good for them. Good for them. They got a song and some love. I just got to write it.
Oh, Susanna, you have started the rain. You can wash away these tears, but not the pain.
Oh, Susanna, there's some people you meet that look so soft and pretty. These pulchritudinous beings, and you just look into their eyes, and you're lost for months, for years. Some people for a whole lifetime. They fall into the ocean of the eyes, and they're swimming, and it's gentle. It's just a little wade. You can even lie back, look up at the sun or the stars. And I felt that. I had that. And one day I woke up, and I could smell the flowers a bit more. So I went over to close my window, and I noticed that the sky was a bit bluer. And I thought to myself, I must be seeing things a bit clearer today, which is interesting. I don't know what I ate last night or what I did in my sleep to make this happen. You look over at that Susanna laying there, and through your mind you realise, ooh, that thing she did last night was a bit crazy. That thing she did last week was a bit crazy. That thing she did last month was a bit crazy. Most things she does are crazy. And you realise you've been caught in the Susanna trap. And I think that Susanna is the perfect word, the perfect name. To be a Susanna is to be that beautiful gift wrapped up that you open and you realise inside it's a monster. There's a little bit of the devil in there. And you got to choose. Do I stay? Because it's fun. It's fun. But in the end, it's not worth it. I'll tell you right now. You meet a Susanna, watch out. And that's not people called Susanna. To be a Susanna, that's a whole other thing. That's what a Susanna is. She's crazy.
Is it down to this? End it all with one kiss. Still I'm wondering.
The Way It's Meant to Be is a song written by my father. Every time I go into the studio to work on a new project, I look through I'd look through his back catalogue and try and find a song that fit to chuck on the EP or the album. And finally I had the opportunity to do so with The Way It's Meant to Be. I think it's a beautiful song. I think it's free from the shackles of commercialism because it's short and sweet and gets out of the way. It doesn't stick around just to meet some sort of time quota. I think it fits the album perfectly.
Your love has been a fire, has been one broken by desire. Kept on jumping through this fire, still our dignity goes higher. There's rivers to climb, mountains.
Peace, Love and Freedom is similar to Why Let Our People Cry in the way that it's quite a mature song. I think it's more my adult side than my kid side. A few years ago in my home country of Australia, we had a same-sex marriage plebiscite which allowed the people of Australia to vote yes or no for same-sex marriage. And there were people on both sides, making noise. But what led me to write the song was that on the side that I agreed with, which was the yes side, there was a lot of young people, kids, teenagers, young adults at the forefront, at the marches, in the debates, in the online discussions, bringing up valid points, facts, and working towards creating a more equal society. And I found that incredibly inspiring especially after years of the narrative from older people and some older politicians, being that young people were too involved in social media and the internet, and going out and having coffee and avocado toast to be engaged and smart enough to add to political conversations. And I think one reason they did it so well is because it wasn't just another political question. It was the fact that people weren't equal. And they marched and they got out there and they voted and it became legal. And I wanted to write the song to kind of give that an anthem, but to also write it down and capture that moment in time, because I think, songs have a brilliant way of telling history. I think Irish folk music shows that brilliantly. And I want to keep that tradition going. I want to write about things as we live them, because I think that's more precious to us in the future than just reading that the same-sex marriage was legalized on this date. I think it's more important to remember how hard people worked to get there. And that's Peace, Love and Freedom.
I woke up, so how long did it take me to fall out of love with you?
I wish I could have called this song How Long's It Gonna Take, parentheses, the ghosting anthem, because I think it's primarily about being ghosted. I think people get into these, people can go on one date now and then they have this other avenue to chat through social media and texting and all that, and they can learn so much about each other. And it's so easy to talk, and sometimes people have such a good time talking to these people, and it almost feels mutually like, there's an agreement that this is going to keep going and we're going to go on more dates and we're going to end up together and it's going to be fun. We're going to try this out. And then one day they just stop texting, and they don't have to say anything. They never have to talk to you again. And you're left with this. You're left holding this kind of ball of love, and you go, well, how long's it going to take for that to go? Because we worked on it together, and now I've got it all, and what do I do with it? And that's simply the question that the song asks. I mean, obviously the answer is it just takes time to get over someone, but I think it's valid and acceptable to ask, like, well, you played a part in this. What's the explanation? And I think what hurt most about writing this is simply that, I realised that I've done that in the past too. I think it's very easy to do that. I think most people probably have done that. And I think that is a reminder that I'm still not fully there into a, secure person to not be able to say like, I had fun, it was cool to chat to you, but I don't see this going, I don't want to waste your time. So I'm working on it. That's why I wrote this song.
Just on my own again, looking for a reason to move on. Being ordinary friends.
Ordinary Friends, similar to the last song, which in parentheses could be called the Ghosting Anthem. I think this song could be called Ordinary Friends, parentheses, the Lonely Boy Anthem. And I wrote it about this thing that happens to me, and I think it happens to most people, but I feel like it happens to me more severely because I'm a songwriter, but also because I daydream pretty hard, and sometimes I tell people my daydreams, and they get scared of how vivid they are and how strong they are. So I feel like maybe it affects me more, or maybe I'm just too involved in myself, and I think I'm special. Regardless, I'll be on a train or in the local bar or at a friend's party, and you strike up a conversation with someone, and you'll think they're pretty, they look nice, and then they'll speak and they'll make you laugh. That little bit of infatuation kicks in, and in my head, in those 2 seconds, that's it. I'm thinking first date, second date, where we're getting married, how many kids we're gonna have, what nicknames we're gonna give each other, Poochie, Cupcake, all of the above. And then they leave, and you forever just remain ordinary friends. And those things happen, and sometimes it's good that you don't pursue that. It keeps you ticking, keeps the fire alive, the desire to look for love. But it still makes you die inside a little bit each time it happens. Another one gone, another one that got away. That's Ordinary Friends.
Who wrote that book? Who wrote that song? Who wrote the letters of love in your arms?
Who Hangs the Moon I wrote one night late when I was fighting sleep. I was just kind of going through YouTube, finding some weird stuff, and then very weird stuff, and then some sad stuff, and then I fell into a loop of sad things. And I found a series called My Last Days, and it documents people with terminal illnesses in their final days. And this woman wanted to marry her husband before she passed. And in one of the scenes, and I'm paraphrasing, but she said something along the lines of, when I die, I hope my husband knows that to me, he was the man who hung the moon. And I thought that was incredible. That was it for hours. I didn't sleep that night because I was bawling my eyes out at how beautiful that was. And then I was there crying my eyes out thinking, I want to find the one who hangs the moon for me. Because I couldn't just let her have it. I couldn't just enjoy their love. I had to turn it on myself and turn it back to the hunt for love. And so I wrote a song about that, about the search for the person who hangs the moon, search for the one who does it all. And I can safely say, after searching and writing songs about it, I'm still searching. I'm okay. Fantasy to me is the song that makes the record. When I wrote it, it was the song that moved me the most. It's the most raw, the most honest, the most heartfelt, the most true to myself, and probably the most personal thing I've put out there. And because of those reasons, I feel like I can't tell the true story of the song because I feel like that'll take away from its universal message, that is the simple fact that it will get better if you work on it, if you work on yourself. And the biggest realization that led me to writing the song was that, lots of support is amazing and great when you're going through something. But the thing that builds the bridge to get you to the other side is the realization that you have a choice. And that choice is, do I want to make it better? And that's not the stupid choice of when people say, just choose to be happy or choose to be calm or, all of the above. It's not those things. It's the choice that it is your responsibility to do whatever in your power you can do to take steps towards getting better. And if that means drinking enough water, if that means going for a walk every day, meditating, then you need to do that. So yeah, fantasy is about that, and partly I don't want to tell the true meaning behind it because I want it to remain universal and fit any problem, because I want it to move all people forward. But also because I don't want to tell the story yet, because Papa's still working on it. Still making my way through it. And this song has helped move me forward. But there's many miles to go. And I hope that this song and this album pushes you along that track, gets you closer to your truer self. Regardless of where you are. If you're just starting out, you're at the lowest low or at the highest of high, I hope this pushes you as far as it can. That's what fantasy is supposed to do as a song.
This could be the last ball of the innings. Mumbles has to hit this one out of here. Nice connection. It's going.
The reason I call the album Kid is because I feel like I wrote it in the transition from childhood to adulthood. And I feel like that time is so special because I feel like not everyone goes through that. I feel like it's a misconception that, in your late teenage years, you move from childhood to adulthood. I feel like it happens to people at any time through their life, but I also feel like it never happens to quite a bunch of people also that remain in the comfortable for a long time. And then, vice versa, it happens to people, the transition happens far too early when they're too young and they're forced to grow up because of, outside influence and living conditions. But I feel like I was lucky enough to get to an age where I had the opportunity to say, okay, I'm ready, let's make that jump. And so I kind of wrote this album to document the process of transitioning into an adult, I guess. And something else that I observed afterwards, which I found quite profound, is that the only way to keep moving forward, now that you feel, a new level of kind of consciousness and a human, is to dip back into that childhood when it's needed, to use that imagination, to dream, to play. I feel like a lot of people lose that after they've moved forward. I feel like it's a terrible, horrible thing to think that now that you've reached a certain age or a certain level, you can't go back there when it's needed. So that's why I wanted to write this, to document that period. I'm sure there's lots of people that are going through that as they listen, are going to go through that, have been through that, and can note points that they relate to. And yeah, that's my service as a songwriter. Relate, connect, make people feel something, because to me music has always been a type of therapy. Not just writing, but listening from a young age. I used it to get me through the good times, through the bad times, and through everything in the middle. So the album's yours now. I mean, I'm 2 years old kid. You take the kid. It's your responsibility now that you've listened to it, to wash it, to feed it, take care of it. And I just hope that it helps you in some way too. But that is the album. That is Kid. Now that you know all these new things about all the songs, you can listen to it with a whole new set of ears. It'll be like the first time. So share it with your friends who need it. Listen to it whenever you need it. There's a song for each emotion. So whatever you're feeling, I hope it does its job. Take care of my kid, because it's yours now.
Yeah.